Hello, YouTube world. I am back with another video. I'm trying to see where I want my eyes to go. I know it's so weird when you're recording in this, from this arrangement, I should say. I usually record my videos on my phone, so there's not like a blinking light saying, look this way. But there is a light, which I think I'm looking in the camera when I'm talking. Anyhow, I am on here to talk about this full moon in the sign of Scorpio. So we will be having a full moon in the sign of Scorpio on May 1st. And it is going to kick off probably one of the most, let's just say, powerful, transformative months that I know we've had months already that's been pretty powerful, but I think May will be also a powerful month. And one of the reasons is because we are starting the month with a full moon in Scorpio. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about this full moon. As usual, I'm going to share some of my thoughts surrounding this full moon, just some intuitive moments I've had around this full moon to sort of gather myself and meditate on this full moon, look at the sky and sort of see where things have been and sort of where things are around the culmination of this full moon. As you can see, I have my wonderful zodiac wheel set up in the back for us to kind of look at the energies on the wheel. And yeah, so I've just been trying to do a little bit more with just creativity with the board. As you can see, I have another little cutout showing the sky and what's going to be happening with this full moon. I'm going to try not to get too distracted. I am using my phone, so messages coming through, what have you. Please excuse me if I do get a little distracted from this, but I really want to try to focus in and focus the energy around the time we're in and what I see regarding the culmination of this full moon. So without further ado, I want to sort of talk about, and I will be looking around. I know if you watch my videos, you know that I have notes and things placed to where I can sort of call my attention back to what it is I am trying to convey. But I'm also, this time, I'm going to really just try to look at the planets and point out the energies regarding the moon, and very little on my notes, but we'll see. We'll do a little bit of both, okay? But before that, I wanted to talk about what we are coming away from, right? Today is the 30th of April, or at least when I'm recording this video, it's on the 30th of April, and we are wrapping up the month of April. In the month of April, we saw a new moon in Aries, which was very powerful. And we're at just to mention, we are now at the full moon phase of that new moon in Aries. So we've kind of come to the culmination of that time and making new goals or setting new seeds, however you want to look at it, regarding a new moon phase and the energy around that. I think I made a video around the new moon in Aries, and I talked a little bit about that time and just what a powerful time we were entering into of really just kind of like honing in, on the self and really putting that into actionable steps, right? So we had a new moon in Aries, we had Mars conjunct Saturn, which was a very intense time in April. We also had the sun enter Taurus. We had Venus conjunct Uranus, And we also had Uranus enter into Gemini. All of this happened in April and wrapping up April. And so I think we just, we're coming from a pretty powerful month already with these different transits that happened. I know it was a powerful month for me, as I saw this play out in my individual life, but also as I watched media and I saw how some of these things played out just from a collective standpoint, or just with friends and family members in my own life. It's April was a very, very powerful time. Especially with that Mars conjunct Saturn, I think was, yeah. And then Uranus going into Gemini, it was just a lot, right? Uranus has been in Gemini for the past 7 years, where, I had some time to even think about that. This is the first time where the sun, well, the first time in 7 years where the sun has not been with Uranus when it moved into Taurus. Because I think by the time Uranus went into Gemini last year, Uranus was still in Taurus, and so it made a conjunction, or was somewhere around that time conjuncting the sun at some point. So this is the first time in a while where we have not had the sun in Taurus together with Uranus in Taurus. So I feel like this collective sort of exhale for the Taurus signs, and also the Scorpio signs, or just the fixed signs in general, having Uranus make its way out of Taurus and now into the fun, mutable sign of Gemini. So it's been a powerful time, and now we are at what we call the full moon phase of this time, of that new moon, of that new seeding point, with the moon being in Aries. And it's come now to the full moon phase of all of that. And so my question is, are you ready? What are you noticing? The full moon phase, and I'm going to switch over into sort of my note cards and what I prepared to talk about with this full moon. The full moon phase is when the sun and the moon are in opposition to each other. As you can see, I have up here on my chart, the moon is that white pom-pom, and the sun is right above it, which is the yellow pom-pom. And it's just showing how, for my local time, this is sort of how the energy is playing out for my area, but obviously it could be different, a different rising and all of that, depending on which area you are in, or where you are in the world and what have you. But I wanted to talk about the full moon phase, because I think the full moon phase, the sun and the moon are in opposition of each other. They're at that 180 degrees. And at this point, we have the sun in Taurus opposing the moon in Scorpio. I just think it's a powerful time. Perhaps this is also a time where we are having an honest review of the last moon cycle. We are having a chance to recognize and take full inventory on what worked and what did not, or what needs more time, right? A full moon phase is where we are really seeing the fruits, okay? The fruits from what we planted, the fruits from the cycle starting in Aries and now reaching this culmination in Scorpio and opposing the sun. The full moon, just when I think of it more of a literal sort of physical manifestation, we go outside at night and we look up at the sky and we see what? The moon. I guess that's if it's not cloudy in your area. In my area, it's been sort of rainy and cloudy, but no doubt at some point when the clouds clear, when the rain stops, we are able to see this really big full moon out in the night sky. And that's sort of like I think the metaphor for our lives, what do we see now? What has fully culminated in our life from this last moon cycle? Like, what are we seeing? What fruit has it bore? I'm going to do my best today to really talk about what I personally think from this time, from this full moon phase. I don't think I have really anything I'm going to share particularly about how I see this full moon playing out in my own life, but just more like from a collective feel and a collective standpoint. So no doubt we are at a time of release. Okay. What are we releasing, you may ask? What didn't grow? Okay. What isn't ready quite yet? What do we need to just let go of, and say, it's just, it doesn't fit with the narrative, or it doesn't fit with where I am in life right now. There's a part of me or this time that doesn't need this anymore. So it's okay for me to let it go. It's okay for me to release it, In Scorpio, it's, which is one of the reasons why I call this a very, very powerful time. It is definitely a deep place for the moon to be. Let's see, I wrote down a couple of things. About the Scorpio moon, okay? So, let's see if and I hope you don't hear, there's some yard work and blowers going on outside right as I start speaking. So hopefully not a whole lot of that will come through as well. So, all right. So the moon in Scorpio. All right. The moon in Scorpio is said to be in her fall. Okay. She might be a little uncomfortable there. She might have a time where it's hard for her to fully or properly express herself. Okay. And this is where we are. This is this phase of time that we're in right now. The moon represents, our comforts. It represents our inner world. The moon is a very powerful luminary in our atmosphere. We need the moon. The moon is there for that emotional support. It governs the night. It helps us to feel at ease. It helps us to feel comfortable, And the moon is in Scorpio right now, where the moon is said to be far away from home. If it's exalted in Taurus, which is where the sun is right now, the moon is far away from home. It's at 180 degrees away from its home. And so, away, being in opposition to the sun. And so the sun is in Taurus, where the moon absolutely loves to be. And the moon is in Scorpio, where she is having somewhat of a probably difficult time feeling comfortable, feeling nurtured maybe, or that she can properly express herself, or that she can even properly nourish. Sometimes I think about how we need a strong moon in order to feel a sense of foundational happiness, to feel a sense of peace, a sense of relax. Like I can just feel comfortable. I can relax, I can feel stable. Okay. Which is what the Taurus, when the moon is in Taurus, offers. But in Scorpio, where it's 180 degrees away, it can have a sort of, can I feel stable? Can I feel comfortable? Do I have what it takes to nourish? And the emotions run very, very deep because a moon in Scorpio is very authentic. It's real, it's not a sort of superficial moon that's just like swept underway by the things, all the things, the gifts, the what have you. A moon in Scorpio looks at the depths, and it wants to look at the depths, and it wants to uncover all of the things that perhaps, others have missed or just don't quite see. Why? Because a moon in Scorpio wants to protect. And it doesn't just want to protect self, it wants to protect the whole. And so we are, no doubt, my friends, having a very, very transformational full moon in Scorpio. So for you, what does this mean for you in your life? Well, now it's time for you to take inventory, from this phase in your own life, or maybe from a collective standpoint, or just looking at the world. But for the moon, it's really about you. It's really about looking at you. You represent the moon in a lot of ways. The sun is more of giving light to, right, the whole of everything, whereas the moon is really your inner self. It's your inner world. It's the intuitive nature of yourself and nurturing that right now. So with regards to that, we're at a place where we have to ask ourselves, what fruit has been born from how I support myself, or how I'm feeling nurtured or given to? Am I willing to look at the depths of that right now? Am I focusing on that? Or, right now with a full moon, you don't even have to focus that much, because in a lot of cases, it's becoming very real in our lives, right? We can see it. Which is why a full moon is said to be a triggering time, and emotions run very high, because we are able now to see fully what has manifested in a either comfortable way or uncomfortable way with ourselves, in our homes, around our families, just wherever you're having this transit happening in your own chart. You're able to really take a real look at that time right now, and to see how and what is here. What, if this is making me feel uncomfortable or just out of sorts, then I need to release this, because no doubt we need the nourishment from our moon. We need the nourishment to feel secure, to feel grounded, to feel like we can express and give of ourselves in a way that is coming from a place of happiness and support. Okay, so let's move on. So we have fully seen, or can see now, with this lunation of this full moon, where has this time led us? Okay, now I want to talk about sort of some of the aspects that are happening around this full moon. Okay, so the first aspect I want to talk about in this full moon is, let's see here. I got my notes a little out of whack. Give me a second. We've already talked about how the sun and the moon are in opposition to one another. So I wanted to look at naturally the fact that Saturn is making a sextile with Venus during this full moon. So if we look up here on my wheel, we see Saturn. Oh gosh, let's see if I can reach around. We see Saturn right here, and we see Saturn in Aries, and we see Venus right there. Saturn is at 9 degrees of Aries right now. during this culmination of this full moon, and Venus is at 9 degrees of Gemini right now, which they are making what is considered an exact aspect to one another, which is in astrology a sextile. So what I wrote down, or the question I would like to land on you, is think about bringing love to the table, okay? With this full moon, regardless of what's happening in your life or how it has seeded up into this point on this cycle, think about bringing love into the situation, you know? I think we are able to do that, and we're able to do that from a standpoint of action, you know? Saturn is in Aries where it is uncomfortable, but it is making this aspect or having this aspect with Venus, which is sort of, you know, giving us more of a sense of, okay, I can bring love into this situation, maybe even a lighthearted love with Venus being in Gemini. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about with that. I also want to talk about Jupiter, how Jupiter is in Cancer right now. We know we've had Jupiter in Cancer now for a while. Jupiter is over here, and the moon is, of course, right here. And we are having Jupiter in Cancer trining this full moon in Scorpio. And so for myself, one of the things I was thinking about was, you know, earlier this week, actually, as we've been building up to this full moon phase, I have had a really interesting time with my desiring to be full nature, okay? So all things that make me comfortable, that feeds me, that nourishes me, maybe a little bit too much, you know, with Jupiter trining this moon. So if you are having those moments where you're just like, wow, I'm feeling a little, you know, over the top with my with wanting more, you know, just remember Jupiter is trining the moon right now, which is a wonderful aspect, although it can signify a time where we miss being too full or getting too much of whatever the areas in your own natal chart is signifying this area of life for you. However, it is a very good aspect with Jupiter trining the moon. Let's see, Jupiter in Cancer, which is exalted, right? I wrote down a couple of things. And not only is it exalted, it's exactly where the moon loves to be. So we have this Jupiter in Cancer trining the moon in Scorpio. The moon loves to be in Jupiter, okay? And so Jupiter is trining the Scorpio moon. And I just think this is a wonderful aspect to this moon, you know, where I wrote down a couple of things. Let's see here. It's as if Jupiter in Cancer is telling the moon in Scorpio, I see you. I understand your suffering. I understand your misfortune. I understand your sacrifices. I understand your fears. I understand your secrets. I understand your weaknesses. And if they don't work for you anymore, you can release them, my friend. It's this great support from Jupiter given to this full moon in Scorpio, where I think it's allowing this Scorpio energy to really show up in an area of their emotional world where you can release what doesn't work. You know, you can say, this is the real me. This is who I am, and this is how I authentically think and manifest and show up in the world. And yes, I feel supported now to be able to do that. One of the things I feel it's telling this Scorpio moon is I think you are the deepest healer. I think you are the most sensitive lover. I think your spiritual powers transforms, regenerates, and rebirths individuals, families, yes, the entire collective, and even yourself if you allow it to. So I love this aspect. I probably could talk all day just about having Jupiter, exalted Jupiter in Cancer, trining this watery, deep, passionate full moon in Scorpio. So yes, my friends, you can release all that has been dying off in your subconscious and in your reality, depending on where this full moon is taking place in your own natal chart. I think, my friends, that's mainly what I would like to share. Another thing I thought about was the fact that, with this full moon, I feel that we can now finally embrace a powerful rebirth in our relationships and in our relationship with ourselves, and I feel like the universe wants to support us in that right now, in particular, at this full moon. The universe believes you know exactly what it takes, okay? I think the universe believes that you are ready for what it takes, and you can heal it, and you can allow it to heal you throughout this time. So with that, just know it might take some time, okay? There might be some time. We do have Saturn in Aries after all, and it might take some time before you truly realize it and act on it, okay? But when you do, just remember this full moon in Scorpio. And remember that you knew all along exactly what it took to heal it, what it took to manifest whatever it was happening in your reality and put it into actionable steps and bring it forth into the collective, okay? So no doubt, my friends, this is a powerful time. This full moon in Scorpio, I think, is calling us to the depths of our soul, to the depths of where we are ready to transform, where we have transformed already with a full moon, and now allowing us to see that we can move forth. We can actively take those steps to show the real and true us in the collective, okay? So I think it's a powerful time. I know that it can be a sensitive time. It is a full moon in Scorpio, which is one of the reasons why, the preface of, are you ready? Is the collective ready? There's a lot to consider when we are navigating change, and when we see these changes happening, in our world, in our personal lives. It is calling for us to ask ourselves that, where am I ready? How am I ready? And I believe in the depths of my soul that we are all ready, and that we have already been navigating these depths. And now it's just time to put them into actionable steps. So that's it, my friends. That's what I have for us today. I'm not going to do it all signs. I know that it's happening in different areas of everyone's life, and causing us to take deeper looks at ourselves individually as well as collectively. And it's definitely a powerful time for the collective. So I encourage you, especially if you do follow astrology and you want to know more about your soul's journey, um, and where you are and where you fit into all of this, I do encourage you to reach out to learn more. You know, you can always, my information is in the description box, my email, you can always email me. I would definitely love to connect. You can leave me a comment in the comment section, but I definitely believe that we are ready. We're ready for expansion. We're ready to allow ourselves to be that star that we're ready and that we're here to be. So with that, I will see you next time. I do have some other ideas and videos in store. But until that time, enjoy this full moon. Allow yourself to cleanse, allow yourself to release and go within and work with these very powerful energies. Okay, peace and blessings.